Hey, okay, yeah, we're on. Okay, do something. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 236 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Monday, March 4th, 2024, the official last day of the NFL Scouting Combine, the day before the deadline for teams to apply the franchise or transition tag around the NFL. So far, I have seen two official notifications, the Cincinnati Bengals with T. Higgins, and just today, the Kansas City Chiefs with cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. And we're going to talk about Mr. Sneed because there's a connection to the Dolphins that was thrown out there over the weekend. We will talk as well about wide receiver Mike Evans getting re-signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how that could play into the Dolphins in terms of what they do. And then Omar's giving me a finger. What, Omar?
Yeah, the supposedly Justin Mdukwe is supposed to get the franchise tag if the deal doesn't get done. The deal won't get done.
No, but correct, but that's not official yet. If you notice, I said the only official ones yet. The deadline is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. The only two so far that are official. We will also address.
Can you imagine if some of these teams like let Burns not get the tag and Brian Burns and Josh Allen? Come on, it's other people are going to get the tag, brother.
Oh no, I agree, without question. But the only two that have been done.
Jalen Johnson.
We should mention there was. What'd you say?
Jalen Johnson, the cornerback. Yep. Even though I don't think he's that dope, but yeah,
he's a good player on the team that doesn't have a ton of good players. Mm-hmm. And now I lost my train of thought there. We should mention, there was another report today after the ESPN folks reported about Christian Wilkins not going to get the franchise tag. Today was NFL Network that reported it, so it's kind of he's not getting the tag. So,
anyway, we're going to address that later. Let's get into this
history lesson. That's what we're going to get into. 236. So the Dolphins have used the 36th overall pick twice in franchise history. Most recently in 2021. First time was in 75 when they took Freddie Solomon. Hold on. Think about
Holland.
Very good, Javon Holland. In 1975, they drafted wide receiver Freddie Solomon, who also was a terrific punt returner, packaged him in a deal to the San Francisco 49ers for running back Delvin Williams, who proceeded in 1978 to become to set the Dolphin franchise record for rushing yardage, which stood until Ricky broke it in 2002.
So Delvin Williams was good.
Delvin was very good, but then he slowed down massively after his first year. I think he started having some nagging stuff. Never matched his first season with the Dolphins. And, of course, there was Javon Holland, who was picked 36 in 2021 as a pick obtained as a result of the Laramie Tunsil trade. He came from Houston. And Holland going into his fourth season in the NFL. He's not eligible for the fifth-year option, in case you're wondering, because he wasn't a first-round pick. So he's going into a contract year. And as Omar would tell you, he wants his money. He wants a new deal.
And it'll be interesting to see how they address this, because you're basically like in a Christian Wilkins situation where if you wait, you're going to have to use a franchise tag on him, maybe, if he plays well and balls out. But the knee injuries last year kind of soiled his what was supposed to be his breakout season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward.
Also should mention the Dolphins did make a 236th overall pick, because this is the episode number. The actual episode number was a gentleman by the name of Tony Tellington, who was a DB, and this goes back into the 90s, and I don't believe Tony ever made much of a dent as far as an NFL career. Looking at Javon Holland's cap number for 2024 is $4.29 million.
4.3, and why you even bring up the cap number, his base salary is $3.36 million. So
I bring up the cap number in the event the Dolphins wanted to, if it was egregious, if they wanted to re-sign him or sign him to an extension and find a way to lower his cap number.
There's no way for them to lower his cap number. Base salary would be
They could convert base salary into a signing bonus as part of a new deal.
Yes, but Javon Holland would be in the $50 to $60 million range regarding a contract, and his signing bonus would probably be in the $15 to $20 million range. If we multiply that by, let's say, 4 years extension, That would be 15 divided by 4 equals about $4 million, $1 million base salary. So his cap number would actually grow
unless you tack on void years. To spread
void years are the worst.
To spread the signing bonus again.
Void years are the worst.
That's except they allow you to spread the signing bonus.
That's the practice and habit of irresponsible teams like what the Dolphins have become.
Okay, true or false?
Have you ever seen them do void years before they started being financially irresponsible? No, you haven't.
Before they started going all in.
Yeah.
But
void
tell me
years
I'm wrong.
Irresponsible franchises.
Okay, because they're going all in. Tell me without necessarily a whole lot of regard for 3 years on the road, 4 years on the road, 5 years on the road. They're trying to win now, and we are going to make the argument in a bit that they might actually be further from the ultimate goal now than they were at this time last year. Anyway, I'm going to maintain my point. I'd have to crunch the numbers a little bit, but I'm pretty sure if the Dolphins wanted to, they could sign him to an extension and reduce however so slightly his cap number but it's not egregious as it stands right now. So, okay.
No. I mean, if you want to do a contract with void years, that's one of the reasons why I really didn't like the Laramie Tunsil deal because it had void years in it. I'm like, Laramie Tunsil isn't even worth void years. But anyway, so not Laramie Tunsil, Austin Jackson. Like, void years is just a practice of very irresponsible franchises, but they have become.
It's using the credit card even more as opposed to paying cash. Okay. News of the day. There was a lot of news around the NFL. None really involving the Dolphins. Unless you're going to count the Rappaport report, there was the retirement of Jason Kelce, longtime Philadelphia Eagles center. By the way, you may be. I'm not sure if you're aware, but his brother plays for the Chiefs and is dating Taylor Swift. I don't know if you're aware of that.
High five.
You were aware of that, right? By the way.
Yeah.
Also around the NFL, wide receiver Mike Evans signed a contract extension with the Buccaneers, 2 years. I want to say
$52 million.
36 guaranteed.
36 guaranteed, which is if you're basically giving him, and it makes him now. This is why this is important, very important for Dolphin fans, and I hope you guys pay attention. Tyreek Hill had been the highest paid per year wide receiver in the NFL. While Tyreek has a $30 million salary average, he'll never ever see the final year of his contract, which just bumped up his average from $24 million to $30 million. Tyreek has a $45 million payday in the final year, which he will never see. But it's a fake year.
It's not guaranteed.
What do you say?
It's not guaranteed.
Oh no, yeah, it's not guaranteed. Neither is next year, but
right.
But his average of $24 million was the highest in the NFL. Now Mike Evans' average of $62 million is the highest in the NFL. That means more than likely, considering this is important to him and it is about status, Tyreek will want to remain and continue to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. And more than likely, you're going to have to move him from 64 to 60. So from 24 to $26 million a year. Probably $26 million and $1. No, I'm just being petty. But okay,
but here's the thing. You just said 62, it was 26. If it's important for Tyreek to be highest paid, it would behoove the Dolphins to get something done sooner rather than later, because Justin Jefferson's about to get a deal and Jamar Chase is going to get a deal at some point.
You know what's funny? I actually looked into that and talked to people around the league, and more than likely, Justin Jefferson is probably the closest one. And more than likely, if Kirk Cousins leaves that situation, he's probably not going to be trying to re-sign there. So he's going to probably play out the fifth-year option. And then Jamar Chase, he's got the fifth-year option that will be triggered, just like Waddle has his fifth-year option that'll be triggered in May. And then he's going to try to force their hand to get a new contract, but they've got two other receivers that are up right now. They've got a fifth-year option on him. I think his fifth-year option is higher than Jalen Waddle's. I think it's kind of in the neighborhood of $20 million.
It's higher because he's got Pro Bowls and Jalen doesn't.
Yeah, he's got pro. So It's so they might not get another deal done for a wide receiver, but the Dolphins do need to get the Tyreek Hill deal done before any of this happens, before the price continues to go up, because it will continue to go up. And then also, more than likely, Tyreek will get his contract, even if he does do an extension this year. In order to buy cap space in 2025, they're gonna restructure him again. So it's really about a lot. Tyreek is the biggest and easiest avenue to create some financial freedom. And you can say whatever.
And I'm sorry, and they need to get this done before March 13th because they need to get cap compliant.
Yes. And they are at 9 days to go, and it'll be interesting to see what moves they make in the coming days, and how they handle that. But it's going to be fun to see. No, or maybe not. It's going to be painful. But let's.
And the other hold on. The other news of the day was the Chiefs officially placing the non-exclusive franchise tag on cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. The non-exclusive franchise tag comes in at $19.8 million. It allows other teams the opportunity to negotiate with Reed, who's also been given permission to seek a trade. And this is where the Dolphins come in, because there was a report over the weekend from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN who mentioned the Detroit Lions as one logical team to look out for in terms of making the push for Sneed, and also said another team worth keeping an eye on, was the phrasing, are the Miami Dolphins. Omar, what do you think about that?
Always worth keeping an eye on when it comes to a free agent trying to get paid, trying to break it up, trying to get broken off. Everybody wants the Miami Dolphins involved. So an agent's going to drop the Miami Dolphins name to a respected reporter who's not going to be able to fact check it or verify it, and nor does he need to, because Dolphins actually like being used in those situations and scenarios. Why? I don't know.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I'm going to use your words again. You have mentioned on more than one occasion, look for the Dolphins to make a splash move.
Absolutely,
because they do. Could L'Jarius Sneed be that one splash move?
It could. It just doesn't make any sense, because you have to get younger, cheaper, and have developmental young players. If you trade away your second round pick, which is what it's seemingly going to cost for L'Jarius Sneed,
correct.
Where are you going to get that? How are you going to replace that younger, cheaper salary? And
you're not, because he's going to a second contract. By the way, news just came in that the Denver Broncos have released Russell Wilson, which everybody knew was coming. And I haven't looked at the details, but from the earlier indications was that he's willing to sign for the veteran minimum. So the Broncos are on the hook for.
Yeah, the Broncos are on the hook for $30 million. So yeah.
Darlene. Here's the thing. Going back is my very cool ringtone here. Going back to Sneed, yeah, the financial cost is the issue here. The second round pick is not a terrible price for a guy who's really, really good. And if you give him a new contract, you can certainly, frame it to where the first year cap number is not egregious. Yeah. However, the thing to keep in mind with Sneed, and he's not old, he's 27. So again, this would go along with the philosophy of all in, but you're not replenishing your roster with young, cheap labor, which is what makes it sustainable. The other issue with Sneed is he practically didn't work during the offseason. There was concern about a knee. And according to my buddy Joshua Briscoe and our friend Joshua Briscoe in Kansas City, that may have played a part in the Chiefs' reluctance to give him a long-term deal.
Interesting.
But he played the whole season with it.
Okay. We shall see. It doesn't make any sense. You need to start doing business different than how you've done it for the past 3 seasons. And this would be status quo. If you want to go out there and get an upper echelon cornerback, get one that's not tagged so you don't have to pay any compensation for him. That's just my theory, just thinking out the box. So maybe you keep your draft pick. If you feel that L'Jarius Sneed is absolutely that difference maker that you need to put on the opposite side of Jalen Ramsey, cool. However, I will make the point to you, with what money? Until we clear $50 million, we're not doing nothing. So
again, it can be structured to where his first year cap number is very palatable, and
and at the bare minimum, first year cap number might have to be $5 million. Let me look it up.
it's not undoable once the Dolphins do all their machination and their tomfoolery and their shenanigans.
They got to do it first. I'm not sitting here getting all excited about free agency till they do their machinations and shenanigans.
And tomfoolery. Don't forget tomfoolery.
And tomfoolery. And their tomfoolery. Yes.
There you go. So no, I think the idea, it's cool that the Dolphins are mentioned because, as you said, they're always mentioned. I wouldn't be holding my breath for it to happen, but the dude can play. I will say that if it from a pure football standpoint, the dude can play. So, where else shall we go now? Shall we address the positional needs as we teased earlier on? So we discuss. There's probably nothing else that we need to say about Christian Wilkins. The move's going to become, or the non-move, we should say.
There is something that I would like to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, I may have the floor. More I thought about it, and the more I talk to people, especially when you have very tight finances, it does not make sense to use the franchise tag or transition tag, because that would have made more sense, and commit 18.5, because the transition tag is very easy to do if you had the cap space. The problem is it would eat up $18.5 million of your salary right now, and you would have to clear that before March 5th. But it would give you the opportunity to match any. You'd have to clear that before March 13th. I apologize.
Okay.
You have to use it by March 5th and clear it by March 13th.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins are already going to have issues clearing $31 million in cap space. So to create the mechanisms to clear at an additional, to make it $49 million in cap space, that's very tough. And when you factor this in, more than likely Christian Wilkins would not sign it, but he would sign a deal with somebody else, and maybe that deal comes in at a lower number. But you can go out and you can bid on him right now. Whereas if you use that transition tag and locked him down for the opportunity to match any offer that anybody else makes, that cap space is probably the equivalent of like 4 veteran players, which is an argument that you've made from the very beginning, and I give you credit for. And you could right now go in free agency and you can sign with that $18 million in cap space. You could sign Chris Jones. I know they're not going to do that, but you could sign Chris Jones.
Stop it with Chris Jones.
What?
Stop it with Chris Jones. He's not going anywhere.
Okay. They need another bidder. Maybe the Dolphins get in the game. Okay. Let me change this up. There's Leonard Williams. You can go sign Leonard Williams. You can go sign Derrick Henry. You can go sign Rob Hunt. You could go sign even Braxton Berrios if you wanted to. You could go sign Robert Jones. 5 players for the equivalent of cap space that Christian Wilkins would eat up. So it makes sense not to put the transition on him. When I found that the franchise was 22, I was like, oh man, $22 million. That's a hell of a lot when you're really a $18 million player. No offense. He's going to take offense though.
Yeah, except our good friend Cameron Wolf tweeted that based on execs he talked to in Indianapolis, he could come in about 22 million, which is the range of the Dexter Lawrence, Simmons range. So again, he's worth what somebody's willing to pay him. I do want to address one quick thing regarding Christian, and that's the compensatory pick. It's not quite as simple as you lose Wilkins. He's a great player. You're going to get a 3rd-round pick. It's not quite that. That formula is like, I mean, there's such a thing as compensatory free agents, and it comes down to basically what contract the dude signs for, and then there's playing time and postseason honors that come into play. For example, I think it was Cameron Wake where the Dolphins lost him, and based on everything expected, you thought they were going to get a good compensatory pick, and then the playing time wasn't there, and he got hurt early, as I recall, and there was no Pro Bowl, so the compensatory pick wasn't there. And then if the Dolphins go out and do sign another compensatory free agent,
You can't
that
stop.
sometimes those cancel out. For example, last year the Dolphins signed Dan Finney, of all people, actually was a qualifying free agent for the formula, which again is insanely complicated. So it's not logically.
Yeah. In a
It would,
dream scenario, let me summarize what Alan Poupart is trying to say. In a dream scenario, if the Dolphins do not do anything and let Christian Wilkins walk, in a dream scenario, they might get a third round compensatory pick back.
correct.
Now, if they sign a defensive tackle that replaces him at a lesser reduced salary, maybe that compensatory pick turns into a fourth round pick. But it all balances out. But to be honest with you, the Dolphins have been way too aggressive for the past God knows how many off seasons to even get. I can't even tell you last time they had a compensatory pick because they're always aggressive in the free agency.
I saw it. I think it was 2020. In fact, we did a story on alldolphins.com when the compensatory picks were announced for this year, and the Dolphins again didn't get one. I'll put the link.
They shot too much.
Correct. I'll put the links in the comments when I find the story, but I believe it was 2020 the last time. And one player that they did pick with a compensatory pick was Devon Gottschall was a comp pick, and he turned out to be a good player.
That's a fifth. What would they get a fifth?
He's a fifth in 2017. He was a fifth round pick.
Okay.
That turned out to be a very good pick. And there was a time where you couldn't trade a comp pick. Now everything's fair game. So. But that won't be determined until next offseason. And again, in the best case scenario, what you hope for is if he leaves, he goes to his next team, plays the entire season, and balls out.
So, let's get into something that I think needs to really be discussed, broken down, brought to people's attention, which is, I know Dolphin fans, they have this very myopic view in terms of, our team was such a disappointment. But truthfully speaking, and I think we both said this, the 2023 team is probably the best team that you're going to be able to put together for a very long time. And here's my reasoning why I think that's an issue. If you look at this Dolphins roster right now, and we've said this and we've addressed this on this podcast, you have one defensive tackle in Zach Sealer. You have one safety in Javon Holland. You have no edge players that are healthy that are going to begin the season and play at least the first month because of Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and even Cameron Good's injury. And Andrew Van Ginkel is a free agent. You basically have three decent inside linebackers in Jerome Baker, Duke Riley, and David Long. And truthfully speaking, Jerome Baker's future with this team is probably on the hot seat right now, just because he's one of the avenues that can help you create some cap space. And more than likely, they're going to spend this week or next week trying to shake him down and make him sign a new contract at a lower salary. 3 of you starting it into offensive linemen, the interior guys, free agents. You've got 3 receivers. I'm not counting practice squad guys or futures contract guys. You got 3 receivers on this roster: Waddle, Tyreek, and Eric Uzukama. Let's get to cornerback.
I was going to say it'd be a lot quicker if we just did the positions where there's not a massive need. It'd be a lot quicker. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, hell, we could do that too. Only positions where there isn't a massive need. You're right. We probably would have been quicker. Is quarterback, not a word, Poupart. Running back, tight end, and I know Dolphin fans would be like, "Oh no, actually, they do need a tight end." I take that back. Tyler Kroft is not going to be back here. And that's about it. Everything else is pretty much a massive need.
Yep.
So if you're looking at this roster, and this is a roster that has to be, everybody's going to be like, "Oh, free agency is going to help us build this roster back." With what money? With what cap space? And yeah, you're going to build a roster with lower tier guys that sign $500,000 signing bonuses and are playing for $1 million to $2 million a year. And they're going to cancel each other out on the back end of the roster because only the 51 top salaries count. And that's cool. And that's great. But your roster, you do realize, is going to be filled with old, injured, or underproductive players who've underproduced. And that's pretty much how the back end of your roster is going to be built. And not to say that it's not going to be good, but this is what happens when you have a gazillion players become free agents at the same time, and you haven't worked harder at locking up your young core. And it's not that they didn't work hard at it; they just didn't want to commit the money to it.
Again, this is where I need to jump in and go, because you're going to go with the pro player side. I'm going to go with the pro management side for balance sake. And I'm because I sit somewhere in the middle. It takes two to tango, and that's not just a situation of, well, the Dolphins didn't lock up Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins to a long-term deal. Well, is it possible that the contract demands were unreasonable or above what the market suggested at the time? That's also a possibility.
Or what you thought the market was going to suggest at the time.
Sure.
The market suggested $19-20 million for Christian, based on the new deals that the Dexter Lawrences and the Quentin Williamses and the what's the one in Buffalo got?
Ed Oliver.
Yeah. So the market told you clearly what was on the table. They just refused to pay that, which I can understand.
As you would have too, and as I would have too, as we were talking about last offseason. You need to show us
absolutely
an impact player in the pass rush game, which Christian had not done, and he did it last year.
Sometimes you roll the dice and you roll snake eyes. And this was a situation where they rolled snake eyes. Wisely, they moved off Christian's deal and offered Zach Sealer $8 million a year deal. And considering he suffered a knee injury that week in practice, he jumped on it. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And so that was probably one of the best signings that this franchise has made in probably a decade. So
I want to go back to a point though earlier that, and this is a great point you made, that it's a little bit sad, but it's reality that the Dolphins 2023 roster, because of everything happening at the same, all the player acquisitions they had made, players maturing from their rookie contract, that was the apex of what they could assemble and have on the roster at the same time in terms of
at an affordable price.
Correct. Because a lot of guys became too pricey. Yeah. That was, I don't want to say that was their shot, but they may have been, in terms of roster, their best shot. And it has happened with other franchises where a lesser talented team got some to places that the better roster didn't get. So that's what you have to hope for. In terms of pure talent, though, yeah, I think it's going to go down from here.
I don't know if it's absolutely guaranteed that that's the case, but we shall see. Because I think, me personally, I think that a lot of these players, like Deshaun Elliott, Brandon Jones, Robert Jones, I'm trying to give you another name, River Craycraft. Did I say Braxton Berrios already?
No.
Okay, those guys coming back for minimum base salary, $500,000. I don't see where there's teams.
Oh, I think Deshaun Elliott's going to get a deal somewhere.
Okay.
You're talking about it. He's like a 4-year starter.
4-year starter who played last year for less than $2 million, even though he was a multi-year starter with the Lions and the Ravens. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm not saying that he's going to be a minimum base guy. I think he's probably a $2.5 million safety, maybe a $3 million safety. But so they're going to be able to fill spots like Cedric Wilson. If you want Cedric Wilson back, who's bidding on Cedric Wilson?
Harsh.
I mean, am I telling you a lie?
I mean, you're still harsh.
Did I tell you a lie?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Damn.
So it'll be interesting to see how they supplement the roster. This is really a situation where they basically got to squeeze all the juice out of this lemon. And you got some tough decisions to make. And the first one was not using a transition tag or a franchise tag on Christian Wilkins. And I understand it a little bit more because it's going to allow them financial freedom and flexibility to actually add high salary players for that $18 million cap commitment that a tag would have created. So I get it. This is going to be you're not just saying bye to Christian. If you sign him, you can basically sign him and have his cap number at $6 million, $7 million, depending on how the contract is structured. So this is even going to prevent not using the tag is going to prevent a team from putting some poison pill in the deal that will force the Dolphins to, make his year one cap hit something that the Dolphins can't afford. So this gives them an even greater opportunity to try to match and be competitive if they want to retain him. But it still exposes him to the market, and Christian's an ultimate businessman, and nothing personal, but he's going to be signing for the highest dollar value.
Yep, and we shall see. Okay, on that note, take us away.
Yes, as you know how to find us, alldolphins.com. I've got my personal position breakdown of terms of top 5 needs that this team has heading into free agency and the draft subsequently, but we'll be redoing the list once the draft gets here. I can honestly tell you, I'm going through my list of free agents right now. There is nothing out there that really excites me, but it'll be interesting to see how things pan out and play out. On that note, Poupard, say your goodbyes so we can hit
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Where's the hat tip?
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
All right. Visit alldolphins.com for the latest news, analysis, and columns, and it's all free. You can find Omar Kelly and Alan Poupard on the All Dolphins podcast discussing South Florida's NFL team on YouTube and anywhere you find your audio podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share so you stay in the know.